Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Narayanang namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam deving saraswating vyasam tato jayamudiyarayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Vyasa, the author. Nashta paraye shvabhadreshiyu nityang bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. Today, Prabhu's, today we're looking at Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the 10th canto, Chapter 30, text 28. And the chapter is entitled The Gopis' Search for Krishna. Okay. Ananya radito nunang Bhagavan Harir Ishvaraha Yano Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anyayad Raha Anyaradit Nunam Bhagavan Ishvara Yana Vihaya Govinda Pritayam Anuraha. Okay, we'll go this one. Huh? Anyaradito Nunam Bhagavan Arir Ishvara Yanno Vihaya Govinda Pitayam Anyaya Raha Yaradadito Nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yanno Vihaya Govinda Pritayam Anyaya Raha Anyaya Radito Nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yano Vihaya Govinda Pritayam Anyaya Raha. Okay. Anyaya Radito Nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yano Vihaya Govinda Pitayam Anyaya Raha Anyaya Radito Nunam. Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yano Vihaya Govinda Pitayam Anyaya Raha Anyaya Radito Nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yano Vihaya Govinda. Okay, I think we're okay there. Thank you all for participating. Anaya, by her, Radita, perfectly worshipped. Nunam, certainly. Bhagawan, the personality of Godhead. Harihi, Lord Krishna. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Controller. Yet, inasmuch as. Naha, us. Vihaya, rejecting. Govindaha, Lord Govinda. Prittaha, pleased. Yam, whom. Anayat, led. Hriyaha, to a secluded place. Translation. Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. Let's do it together, okay? Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. Okay. And purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that the word aradita refers to Srimati Radharani. He comments, the sage Shukadev Goswami has tried with all endeavor to keep her name hidden. Yes. But now it automatically shines forth from the moon of his mouth. That he has spoken her name is indeed her mercy, and thus the word araditaha is like the rumbling of a kettle drum sounded to announce her great good fortune. Although the gopis spoke as if jealous of Srimati Radharani, they were actually ecstatic to see that she had captured Sri Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes the following detailed description of Srimati Radharani's footprints, as given by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Sri Ujjvala Nilamani. At the base of the large toe of her left foot is the mark of a barley corn. Below that mark is a disc. Below the disc is an umbrella. Please don't cheat. And below the umbrella is a bracelet. A vertical line extends from the middle of her foot to the juncture of her large and second toes. At the base of the middle toe is a lotus. Below that is a flag with a banner. And below the flag is a creeper, together with a flower. At the base of her small toe is an elephant goad, and upon her heel is a half moon. Thus there are 11 marks on her left foot. At the base of the large toe of her right foot is a conch shell, and below that a spear. At the base of the small toe of her right foot is a sacrificial altar. Below that are an earring, and below the earring oh, here it is again, spear. Along the base of the second, third, fourth, and small toes is the mark of a Belza, thank you. Below which is a chariot. And on the heel is a fish. Thus, altogether, there are 19 distinguishing marks on the soles of Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. Can you share your image, your wallpaper with the devotees? Where we have the imprints of Radharani's feet. Okay, so thank you, Bruce. I hope you're enjoying the festival. The last 3 days is the last day. And all glories to Srimati Radharani on this very special day. I think we're going to hit some themes might have to do with feminism within Krishna consciousness. Is everyone okay with that? No problem? Feminism, masculinism, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, right? God did it. God created things that way. Okay, so we have a beautiful Radharani, and she looks like a queen. She always does. Her makeup has changed. Of course, I've never known a woman who doesn't change her makeup. Okay, these are the feet. The images are not so strong, but it is very beautiful nevertheless. Okay, when I came to the Gerrard Street Temple at late 1972, I was, a little bit more focused on the devotees who were in the temple room, but I also noticed on the altar there was a guy and a girl. Okay, and I thought, this is very nice, okay? And we've had people come here. There was a couple of African Canadians who came here, and one of them says to the other, "Hey man, look, they believe their God is black. And look, he's got a white chick." So we're being very inclusive. And back in 1976, I didn't want to miss saying this, but one of our very best friends, who was quite a scholar, Professor Joseph T. O'Connell, with 2 L's, he let me know. It's 2 L's. Yeah, we were friends. We were good friends. And one of his students was Brian Marvin, who got initiated by Prabhupada as Shukavak. He grew up in Scarborough. Anybody from Scarborough? Okay. And he's now in California somewhere. He's like the head priest of a temple there. Always really, scholarly, very level-headed, very nice guy. And it was Professor O'Connell who was very proud of the fact that one of his students, who was a devotee, had written a book on the modernity of Hinduism. And this, it's all about the story of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? And I remember him on the microphone at the Rath Yatra, going back some years, speaking about that book. And, for all of his efforts, he felt that he made some progress, even with the devotees. He was encouraging devotees from time to time to please come and take some of the classes. He was fluent in Bengali, and he's written a lot of papers out there. And he came to see Prabhupada in 1976 in June, up in Prabhupada's quarters. And that room is quite famous, not only because Prabhupada was there, and there's very few places left on the planet where Prabhupada spent some time and which are secured by devotees. So we should be proud of this temple. It's something that Prabhupada prayed for, and we got it. And he sent a telegram. Once we secured it, he said, this is a great triumph. Let's go back to Professor Joseph T. O'Connell with 2 L's. He asked Prabhupada upstairs, what, do you have any female gurus? And Prabhupada said, yes, we do. Not many, but there are some. And then he cited the example of Nityananda's wife, Janavi Devi, who had lots of students, right? So in our tradition, we don't have a problem with women being spiritual leaders. We may have a problem with them being sannyasis and traveling alone. You can understand that. But no problem with, having female devotees, if they're Krishna conscious, to take some lead in guiding people. There's not a problem. I remember when Yamuna Devi was living at Sharnagati in British Columbia, there were a lot of young people just very attracted to her, and they were taking shelter of her. She never wanted to take formal, guruship, because I asked her, because I was supposed to be looking after the zone of Canada, and could you maybe do this service? And of course I asked other devotees, Prabhupada disciples as well, and everyone's quite shy about it. One person came forward though. In fact, when I put the request out there, we were in the house of Kalakanta, and he's the one that sort of bit the bait. His wife wasn't very happy about it, I'm just telling you honest, but finally she got over it. All right, so there's an acceptance for female divinities. I was raised Catholic, so we saw Mary, no problem. We saw Saint Teresa, no problem. Not the current Mother Teresa, or more contemporary recently, that individual who people adore, but there was other Saint Teresa. We don't have any problem. Saint Anne, Saint Teresa, it was not a problem. And when I was in Jerusalem, I walked Israel. I did go to Jerusalem, and there's 3 communities there, all sort of packed in together. There's the Catholics, there's the Jewish community, and there's the Islam community, right? And they just don't get along with each other, unfortunately, even though there's one God and everyone should be believing in that one God. Yeah. So while there, we went to a church, and it's called St. Anne's Parish. And Anne is the mother of Mary. Everybody knows Mary, known as Madonna, not the material girl Madonna, no. The Holy Mary, right? And the person who was running it, he was a French-Canadian. I was so happy to see that too. And I asked him, do you think it's okay if we could just sing some mantras here in your church? And he said, yes. We. Yeah, go ahead. So we did. We chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And by the way, Hare, it's a feminine gesture. It appears quite a lot in the Maha Mantra. How many times? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, so there are 8 times it appears, more than Krishna. But anyways, there's inclusiveness in our culture. So we have to live through that. Just tying in the Radha Leela Let's talk a little bit about how she relates to this temple here. Okay, back in Treta Yuga, during the time of Ramachandra and Sita, Sita, she had asked Ram, how will you appear in the future? In the coming Yuga, was assumed as the tail end of Dwapara Yuga. How will you appear? And Ram unleashed his arrow, put his bow out like this. He shot at a black stone, and there appeared a deity of Krishna, Kirachora Gopinath, a Gopinath deity, right? So that, and wherever there's Krishna, there's usually Radha, okay? So for many hundreds of years, people worship Krishna alone, but due to the influence of some female devotees, most, as far as I understand, most notably Nityananda's wife, Jhanavi, many Radha deities were installed next to Krishna, so that there could be a fair share, I guess you could say. Right? So it was back in 1972, and we installed the deities here. That Prabhupada gave the name of the deities, which we found in Remuna. So we call this place New Remunadam. Has anybody ever been to Remuna in the state of Orissa? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well now, I guess we have to put that on our bucket list. Our Bhakti bucket must go to Remuna. Check it off, check it off. So from Kolkata, you can get there on your way to Puri. You might have to get off the train at 1:30 in the morning. And, but there's other ways to get there, right? But that's what I did. And so I was with my godbrother, Kratu Prabhu. I think it was Kratu at that time. And we got off the train and we took a Tanga to Remuna. And on the way there's a hotel, and it's Hotel Taranto. And I got off. I asked the guy, stop for a minute. And he says, I just want to confirm something. So I went to the lobby of that hotel and asked, what do you mean Toronto? Because people say, from India, they don't say Toronto, they say Toronto, right? So I wanted to know, is this Toronto like Toronto, Canada? And of course, in the culture of India, no one says no. Everything's yes, yes, yes. So I'm not sure if I actually believe it or not. I just want to make those kind of connections, And Toronto, Ontario. Ontario starts with an O. Orissa, I just was making those kind of connections, And so anyways, you go there to Remuna, and there is a deity of Gopinath, the one that Ramachandra had manifest kind of automatically. And it's one of the unique places where you can watch the deity being dressed right in front of your eyes. The pujari will just dress the deity, adorn it. Now, it's not a freestanding deity necessarily. It has attached to it a bas relief, and there's demigods next to him. So the pujari covers those images with the cloth. And the cloth is very, simple. It's clean. And the deity does stand with a very big flute. It's very powerful. You really should go. And the special thing about that murti is there's kheer being offered, 11 pots. And they are sold to the public. And in terms of the flavor, O-M-G. Oh my God. The French will say, Mon Dieu. And so it's very tasty. And I really think devotees need to go there. Now, one year we did a play there, myself and Gore and his wife, and we did a drama there, the story of Kirchora Gopinath. No, actually we did the story of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his interaction with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was very much appreciated by devotees. Hardly anybody there could understand English, but they just appreciated the fact that we were doing something, you know. And we also performed it in Jagannath Puri. Okay, so we had a tape recorder. That's what we had in those days, to be there to play the background music. Okay, so during the performance, or after the performance, someone stole the tape recorder. And we were asking the management, do you know where it is? I said, what to do? You know, that kind of response. What to do? And so, you know, somebody came out with the tattva, the philosophy. Well, it is Kirchora Gopinath, the thief. So 1 year later, I received a call from India. And it was from the Panda, you know, one of the priests there. He said, we have found your tape recorder. So I said, okay, you can have it. It's too much trouble to get it over here. Oh yeah, and by the way, I just want to, I know I'm talking about Ramuna and I'm talking about Radharani. I'm mixing it all together, okay? But you see the images of the peacocks up here on the side wall of those are the same colors they have in Ramuna at the temple. Tiles, pink and green. So when the devotee Vishnudas put these on there, oh yeah, that's very like Ramuna. Okay, let's get back to Radharani, okay? We know a bit about her, and this is indicated here. And the purport that Radharani's name was extracted from the very word Aradhanam, Aradita, perfectly worshipped, okay? By the way, Radharani is the best worshiper, and she is worshipable. So this is what the name implies, right? And so we have, you know, let's see, we're going to touch on feminism in ISKCON. Okay, I wrote a poem about this, and it's one of the books, well, I think it's poetry book number 1. You can look it up, and here's what happened in ISKCON, which is kind of sad news. In the early days, we had men and women in the temple room on Gerrard Street, quite tight. Women are on the right side, men were on the left. And it was divided like right in the middle, you know, men and women. And then, you know, women would give classes. It was kind of rare. People like Yamuna would give classes in the movement. But the ladies more or less had their domain was the deity worship, right? And so Radha Gopinath was installed in 1972, as was indicated at Radhastami. And so the women had a lot to do. Praharna was the head pujari for a good amount of time. Lakshma Moni was there, and so on. It was really nicely looked after. That department, sewing was a big thing, making the flower garlands. It was all the domain. We are putting a plug in for you devotees over there. I don't know if you're listening. I guess they're not. Haribol. So they were in charge of the department. Their overall management was mostly by the guys. And, you know, cooking was shared. Bibi Govinda Swami was one of the main cooks at the time. but the responsibilities were shared. We all went out in Harinam. There's a real nice family mood. But then in 1975, something happened. And, well, actually 76, the first year that we were here. And there was a, kind of like a theme going around that women are less intelligent, they don't give them much importance and so on like that. And I was on traveling Sankirtan, but here at the temple, the women were encouraged to just move out. So they got outside and they went to a place outside. When the women went to, say, Mayapur, they were put on the roof. There was no other place for them. Praharna will tell you the sad stories. And at the mantra retreat, she spoke and about what she went through during this very horrible period. So what it did, it kind of broke the family atmosphere, and it kind of it was a real contaminant, toxic energy that started to float around. And it was just very new for us. And, Prabhupada said, nothing will break us from the external point of view. In fact, when people may, have some kind of show biasness towards us, it bonds us together in a kind of a brotherhood way. But this was very dangerous because it could break us from within. So it went on for some time. And it was amazingly headed by one particular sannyasi, and who was told later by Prabhupada, who had to come in and change that culture and say, you have created a fratricidal war. So I'm going to send you to China. Like a challenging place. So he accepted, and that went on. So optically what happened then is that the extreme was that if you saw a woman, you had to go like this, or she had to go like this. I'm just telling you, I saw this down. The whole was going up the stairs, the kitchen. And so one lady was coming. She saw me coming, and she goes like this. So I would get contaminated. Isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that extreme? And we didn't hear that philosophy from Prabhupada. He never gave that to us. And when the whole thing was going on, one of the ladies gave him an embroidered bead bag, and he looked at that and said, how can my female disciples go through this? So he settled the matter. And, of course, there's a lot to say about men and women shouldn't mingle very much. There was a phrase that Prabhupada said, when it comes to in the temple facility, that is the single men and women, they shouldn't be mingling much. And maybe the best that they should do is say, pass the salt, please. And that's all. You don't need to, go beyond that, basically, because those are the strictures or the disciplines that we follow in our, traditional ashram life. And of course, the ashrams were mostly for men, and so there wouldn't be that exposure. So therefore, Prabhupada, when he came to America, he saw men and women were involved, and he accepted both. And there was a time when devotees were complaining, the male brahmacharis, and that news got to Srila Prabhupada. He said, okay, well, have them go to the forest then. Meaning, not the women go to the forest, let the men go to the forest. Live in the forest if they can't handle this. Okay? So we cannot bear this kind of prejudice. And unfortunately, it's still there. I'll tell you a story which I'm telling, it's kind of shocking, but it still goes on to some degree, this sort of hatred or whatever you want to call it. It's a Kali Yuga element. I was at a meeting in Mumbai as a GBC representative, and it was a midterm meeting, and we were all sort of lined up in a certain way, the men kind of in the front, and then men are taller usually. Ladies like guys to be tall, that's my It's one of their top attractions. Tall. But if you could just stand tall in front of the women who are shorter can't see. Plus, men have squared shoulders. They're less curvy, or so, you know. And so that's a block right there. And in Mumbai, the ladies are known to be in a corner in the back, you know. So, well, I felt very uncomfortable about that because that's not how we were raised in Krishna consciousness in the early days. Right, Sucharya? It was just kind of like a family feel. It was very strong. So anyways, Malati, she stood there after we greeted the deities. Malati was standing next to Prabhupada, the Murti, right? And I turned around and said, do you think I could do the puja here? I'm not even an administrator, but just because I was there, you think, well, I don't see any problem. Well, I mean, I couldn't understand why she asked me in the first place. So because there is some prejudice in some of our temples like that. So she started, she did the Guru Puja, and they don't normally have a woman do the Guru Puja. So after that, I got chastised by the management. Well, Maharaj, why did you give her permission? So, and then I went back to Malati and said, I told her this is what's going on. And I said, well, what's the problem? Me and my husband opened this temple. So they may have their sort of rules or disciplines over there, but I'm just saying for now, may that contamination, that kind of mentality, never tax us here in our yatra. And wherever it may be, we can hopefully dismiss it once and for all. And there has to be that inclusiveness. That's really what's attractive by people on the outside to Krishna consciousness. Now, if you go any place in India, any Hindu temple, everyone just rams themselves in front of the deities. The whole family goes there. Mom, pop, kids, grandma, aunts, uncles, they all go up there, all together, right? But there's some traditions where women are very separated, you know? And that's the Islam tradition. Sorry to say, they're just put up somewhere, you know? So I don't think that will attract people if we go that route and we be very discriminatory. After all, what's one of the baseline philosophical truths in our philosophy? I am not this body. I am spirit. Aham Brahmasmi. So what's the big deal? You know? If you got some issues, then, you know, go to the forest. That was Prabhupada's solution. Go to the forest. So there can't be this hatred. There has to be this inclusion, and that's what makes it all attractive. I think it's one of the main things. We have to accept people, you know, for what they are, you know, because they're spirits. And of course, some people are affected by the sexualization of the society, of the world today. But we have to be very accepting, and hopefully people will sort of gravitate to just be getting normalized. That would be really nice. So I hope that Radharani's pleased with our little, you know, discussion that we had right now. And I'm one of these people that like to stick to the time frame that is allotted to us. May this day be very meaningful to you all. It's our last day to have this reunion where men and women have come together to tell us about those really special pioneer days when everything was so nice and rosy, and we didn't fight. We didn't fight. That came later on. That came later on. At least our experience in Toronto, the Toronto Yatra was like that. Yeah. There's more to say on this topic. But the different, you know, defining the different roles by men and women is something that could be an issue. I mean, I'm personally a person of the old school. I kind of like it when men were in charge and women were there to back it up in their own way and give a lot of input, you know, kind of like from behind the scenes. I like the old school ideas because women were or are supposed to be protected. And provided. And if guys are not doing that, you're just not doing your job. Shame. Shame on you. But that's our role, and I think ladies generally feel very protected. They feel happy when they're supported like that. Okay, I'm just going to finish it there. Maybe somebody else can come up. Some of the highlights are that room upstairs is very special because of the conversation that went on there. The basement is also very special. This is for Amala Harinam. And when Prabhupada first came here to inspect the place before we got it, he said, now if we get this has to be very clean, otherwise rats will come, right? And we have had sometimes rat infestations. There was one who had a special curve, and he was like an alpha male, and we called him Duryodhan. And he was really, it was really something, So we got 2 ferrets. And we brought the ferrets around, and when the rats smell the ferret, just the scent, they'll just get out of here, So about that building, he was very, as you know, he spent time here. One of the reasons why we keep this floor is because he was on this floor, and this marmoleum, floor, which is quite slippery at the moment. But that's okay. Remember, you notice how it's kind of curved like this, slides like this, because in 100 years ago they made all theaters and churches like that, so that the person just in front of you is just slightly lower than you, and you can see what's going on, like in a movie theater, right? Or where they have dramas. That's why it's done. Of course, for devotees, we look at it, and now that it's kind of slippery, you can slide into home base at the lotus feet of Radha Kirchhoff. And people look at the floor, and they see there's tilak marks. Do you see this? You see that near you there's tilak marks, right? So when I first came here, and I thought, oh, devotees are so spiritual. The tilak is melting into the floor. But those were just, where the benches were put, the oak wood benches or pews were put in there, and that's how they were screwed in. So this was left. That's what's left of it. But it's okay, because devotees look at everything in a transcendental way. Isn't it? Hare Krishna. Yeah, the other day I was in a Rondo Provincial Park. We were chanting japa, right? And we saw 2 trees. There's like Radha and Krishna. And the tree, their arms were like this around each other. And there was a heart carved on it. So there's 2 trees like each other. That's Radha and Krishna. So we tried to transcendentalize everything. It's on the Instagram, yes, that's right. You can see it in the reels, it's in there. Yeah, it needs a few more hits or whatever, likes. All right, so Prabhu's, any comments or questions about what we talked about? We wanted to just speak a little bit about how Radha is relevant in our lives and how she fits in, as being the ultimate female, the source of all other goddesses. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes.
You were mentioning Mother Yamuna. You were mentioning Mother Yamuna. So could I share a pastime with Srila Prabhupada that she told us directly?
Okay.
Okay. So Yamuna Devi lived in UK, in London, and with her friend Dinatarani Devi. So they were expecting Srila Prabhupada to come for lunch. So they cleaned for days and weeks and scrubbed. And Yamuna Devi is extraordinarily clean, pakka, beautiful. Everything's super clean. So Srila Prabhupada arrived, and they greeted him at the door, and they offered obeisances, and they offered him his slippers. So then Srila Prabhupada looks around at everything, and they were like, it's so clean, you know. So Srila Prabhupada, you've probably heard this story. So Srila Prabhupada walks over to the bookshelf. He picks up a stapler. He opens the stapler, takes his pinky finger and goes like this into the stapler. Just see the dust in here.
Yeah, he was a perfectionist
Yes,
in
yes.
regards to cleanliness.
Yes.
So I'm glad you told the story because, you know, devotees need to hear that. Yeah.
So they didn't know whether to laugh or to cry.
Yeah.
And so then I just wanted to mention that you were mentioning Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Janava Devi. So when Lord Nityananda Prabhu first came to the house of Janava Devi to you know, the wedding arrangements, then Janava's sister, her name was Vasuda. And so Vasuda was serving the guests and serving Lord Nityananda, and she had her head covered, and then her headpiece fell down off her head. So 2 more arms manifested from her body. So she had 4 arms, and she covered her head with the other 2, and then served Lord Nityananda with her other arms. And then Lord Nityananda looked at the father and said, I will marry her too.
Wow.
I just thought of that.
Nice. Thank you. By one housekeeping issue, item, I appreciate someone came forth with this, but if you have a label, it's supposed to go on the bottom, Prabhus. Just like if you have a bed sheet, if there's a label on the bed sheet, it has to be at the bottom, at the end. Okay? You know, just those are something. And please use your bed sheets, you know, like put something on the cover and over you and under you so that, you know, your mattress is not going to have your sweat. You know, they're like hygienic from that point of view. You know, please think about other people. Okay? So those are little housekeeping items. We are also asking the devotees to, you know, like, how many people have cars here? Okay. Not the one that's stolen, right? You know, you park your car very carefully. When you come with your shoes, can you park them carefully? There's some provided shelves for that purpose. If you want to get into like details about how to get more advanced, it starts with those simple things, right? Simple things. I know you're in a hurry. Oh, I'm late for the RT. But at least, you know, put your shoes, park them nicely, right? We're bad at that. We're very bad. 1 out of 10, 3. 3 out of 10. We can change. Anything else? Si, senor.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful lecture.
It's a talk. A lecture is like some formal thing in the university, and please don't use it. That lecture, preach, kick it out of here. Kick it out of our culture. You know, preach. No, we don't preach. We share, we teach. You know, we deliver a message. We don't preach. It's a very negative connotation. Might be in the books, but we're talking about words that are from Victoria's time. Are we living in a Victorian era? Might have Victorian homes around here, but we don't need to use Victorian words.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you for the talk.
I'm sorry.
My question was, what is our relation with Radharani as a jiva? How can we relate with Radharani? Is she our mother, or how can we?
Yeah, I mean, it's very safe to say that she's our divine original mother, as that's the translation of the Hare, divine energy, internal energy, deep inside. So, Shakti, original Shakti, female, the willingness to serve, that kind of mood. It's motherly. Yeah, it's motherly. Is it okay for gentlemen to be motherly? Yeah, why not? Yeah. Then you're a gentleman. Most guys are not gentlemen, right? It applies to those who are very nice to the ladies. Yeah, so that particular Shakti is there. I mean, Rupa Goswami, the Goswamis themselves, they delved more into this kind of, appreciation, understanding of the role of female in our lives. So, Divine Mother, I think when you want to define the Hare Krishna mantra for people, it's very nice to say, this Hare is the Divine Mother, Krishna is the Divine Father. And have some, have some fun, Rama, by serving them. It's a way to translate it, isn't it? Okay. Anything else?
I wanted to mention something about Srimati Radharani, that Srila Prabhupada, he wanted us to come to Mangalarti every day, and he said it's very, very important to come to Mangalarti. And then I read in one of the books of the previous spiritual masters that at Mangalarti, the deities have just finished their evening pastimes, and they're coming to see the devotees, and the devotees to see and to serve Radha Krishna as they start their next set of pastimes. And then they have Mangalarti sweets. It's a beautiful party, it's a festival. And so Mangalarti is so important. It's so important that Srila Prabhupada sent us a message that he said, everyone must go to the Mangalarti. He said, and if you miss, he said, you must distribute one Krishna book. And then he said, is that all right? So,
Okay.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
And if you do attend the Mangalarti, the morning program, you're expected to, sell 10 Krishna books or 100 or something like that, because you're so fired up. It's not a penalty. Okay, Bruce, I think we should just continue on with our program. What is the rest of the program today, Manil? Can you tell us?
Today, we are ideally supposed to fast until 12, and we'll break our fast at noon, having some prasadam. So, right now we can just go on chanting or reading, and doing our services as regular. So yes.
In terms of the reunion, what's supposed to go on? And where will that be? Downstairs. Okay. $12. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. 11 o'clock. Okay. Okay, very good.
10, 11, 5, done, set.
Okay. Yes, that's very good. You mean this, the way you did it? It was very good. I think it's very good. So, Peruse, let's seek our Radharani's blessings today and all days in the mood of service to the world and to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Should it be this way or this way? This way. Okay. Sure.
I had a look at these pictures, and for some reason, Radha Gopinath in those pictures look nothing like what they are in the altars.
That's true.
Do you also believe that the deities' expressions change over a period of
Hare Krishna. There's also a special Harinam We are going to Yorkville at 1 p.m. So if you are interested, if you're around, please join us. Hare Krishna.